Politics is very interesting, especially nowadays when we have so many things that are out there affecting how we live our lives in this country we call America. We have people that don't even believe that the president is a citizen. And we have oil prices that are going through the roof. And we have budget decisions that are going to have long-term ramifications for certain communities over others. And so I want to kind of talk about that and about what's been going on and how these things have been affecting our community. Part of the start of that conversation is about what should be our issues, what should be our priorities within our community. We had two senior statesmen within our community having a discussion on MSNBC, or a disagreement with Reverend Al Sharpton and Professor Cornel West about the black agenda and about accountability of President Obama's accountability. But are we really getting the full picture about how things are really running? Is everything falling on his shoulders because he's not doing all of the things he should be doing?
Yeah, I think it was a repeat of the situation that we had a few months ago with Tavis Smiley and Reverend Al Sharpton, where the two issues are not the two sides or the 2 points of view are not mutually exclusive, and both sides have a point, but they seem to be arguing as if only my point is pertinent and forget about yours. Specifically in this case with Professor Cornel West saying that the president needs to address some major issues that, like here in New York, where 70% of blacks and Latinos have been stopped by the police erroneously, and major issues that are of concern to the communities of color, is a valid point. The president does need to address things that affect a large portion of the population. But I also think that Reverend Sharpton had a point when he said, we have Congress people, we have so-called political leaders who that's their job, to represent the constituency. So we have to recognize that, especially given the full plate that President Obama has had since he became president and got in office, that there are other people who need to contribute towards the causes. And we need to have sustained causes, not just, one-time march and then, forget about it, and then the next time it happens saying, oh, why is this happening again?
But do you think that's a bunch of excuses that maybe we should be trying to hold President Obama more accountable?
Well, every president prior to Obama runs into the political expression of people who feel they were let down during the course of his presidency. When Obama was campaigning, he said some things in terms of his goals, what he wanted to do, that he, as president, feels that he can't really fulfill or express or really deal with. Now, the black community has issues. Our guest right here to my left said an important thing that with Cornel West and Sharpton, they both had some good points. It was not like all or nothing. The president has people to deal with in the Hispanic community. They're concerned about immigration. You have the community that deals with the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, who are a little disappointed with the president's failure to follow through. You have many different, the liberal wing of the Democratic Party is upset with the president. So, and not just in what his positions are, but they're concerned that he's too slow and too laid back in following through.
Not forceful enough.
Yeah, not deliberate enough in terms of his activities. So, when you had this came to a head, came to a head with Cornel West actually accused Sharpton of being a patsy for the president, of covering, for, just being a mouthpiece for the president, and not being forcing the president to address the issues in the black community. Now, some of that is true. But what Sharpton also said, which I think is also true, which I wonder how you feel about it, is about, and this young lady here, Sharpton has been saying that the president is not a civil rights leader. And since he's not a civil rights leader, he cannot address the issues the same way that you expect Sharpton and even the other representatives who represent the community would be saying or speaking of. Yes, to be careful and balance all.
Right, because he
issues.
represents everybody, all Americans.
Yeah, yeah.
And
he wants to run again.
Yeah, and he doesn't want to get caught up and be considered just the black president.
That's right, the black president. That's right.
You know, one of the things that I was thinking about, and I won't attribute the quote to anybody else because it's something I was thinking, just based off of things people were saying, was like President Obama is like a prophet without any miracles, and then people feel that they have to create their own miracles. The problem is with that statement that I just made is that people don't understand what the process is to get to those miracles, right? Because when you look at the point that President Obama was trying to say, and actually Al Sharpton made, we're talking about holding President Obama accountable for campaign promises, and he should be held accountable. We don't excuse that. But where's the accountability down the line, like you just stated? Where is it? Where the Congressional Black Caucus has been, where's the fire been held to their feet? It hasn't been. It has not been. And the thing that he said, which I thought was interesting, and I'm not saying I'm necessarily happy with everything with President Obama, but I have a political IQ that tells me that not everything is his fault. There has to be responsibility within. You know, he doesn't rule like a king. There's a Congress. You know, there's a House and a Senate. So the question has to be: has there been enough communication between the president and the people in the Congress, and especially the Congressional Black Caucus, to come together on what should be a proper agenda and things that he can do to address those agendas? Now, you know, we talked about that. Actually, you heard me on the Philadelphia radio program, the Time for Awakening, where I talked about when a gentleman asked me that he thought Al Sharpton was a sellout, and I said that would you rather have somebody sitting at the table talking to the president and exchanging information with him than be on the outside looking in? I mean, so the idea is that you have to have people outside agitating. At the same time, you have somebody at the table talking to the president.
Yeah, and Sharpton's actually doing what he's always set out to do. I mean, he's done the marches, he's brought forth the issues in the media that he's thought it was important, and he's built his political clout, running for different positions and also keeping his position with the National Action Network. So I mean, he's doing what he feels his niche is. I think it's the responsibility of some of these other so-called leaders to do what they think as well. And I thought it was rather diplomatic of Cornel West to say, you have to be careful that you are not perceived as a patsy. He didn't call him a patsy. He said you just have to be careful that you're not perceived, because it's a valid point. People
but Lorie, everybody knew that he was calling him a patsy. Lorie, we all knew that.
But I mean, and it is. I think Reverend Sharpton has some very valid points in terms of we had 8 years under Bush, and we went through a lot of problems that led up to the problems that we have now, and we didn't have half as many complaints from the public during that time, which is astonishing.
Because they had a job. See, I mean, when we look at the reality of what went on with the 2 wars that were not funded, a tax cut that wasn't funded, a drug Medicare D plan that wasn't funded, but it was the good times were rolling. So nobody didn't care because it wasn't anything, they didn't have any economic pain. When we look at what's going on in New York City, we talked about it previously on the show, that 33% of the people in New York, black people, are unemployed. Doesn't matter if you have a master's or a PhD down to a high school diploma or no degree, 33% of black people, men and women, are unemployed. That's a telling factor. And when you look at somebody who we take pride in, like President Obama, how do we not want him to speak to that issue as a black person and as our president?